issues that are happening on the east side and not just in Seattle. This is happening everywhere, and we need to let it be known to the public, okay? So we're doing that is with this event here, as we're sharing stories, we're giving a space for people to talk. And while we want to give priority to brown and black folks here, we also want to give this space to white allies if they have a story to share, something that they witnessed, something that happened to their friend or family. We want to give you guys that space to share that story too. All right, so we're gonna get started, but again, if you're feeling it, you can give them a quick snap. Let you know they support them, okay? Give a quick if you feel what they're saying, okay? If they start to stutter, maybe stumble a little bit, you can give them a little bit of a rubbing your hands together, you know, warm up the vibe in the room or the air right now. All right? Okay, how we feeling? I'm gonna hand this off to my co-chair right here, Trey.
Hey!
How are we doing today?
Good!
How are we doing today?
Woo!
Thank you. It's sunny. It's in Bellevue. We get to open up the conversation today. So my story is actually fairly recent. It actually happened today. It actually happened 30 minutes ago while we were marching. I'll frame it as a story as if you weren't part of it. But what happened is there's a young group of young activists who are marching around Bellevue Park. And behind us, a individual comes out from the street and is like, stop, what are you guys doing? Like, do we have to make this political? Like, Black Lives, but Blue Lives Matter, right? Like, this shouldn't be anything political. Like, can you guys stop what you're doing, please? And I know most of you guys didn't hear this, but this, in fact, just happened right over here as we were marching. So, I mean, this story is to show to you guys that there's not some overwhelming, not everybody here is all for the Black Lives Matter movement. There are people who are actively against the Black Lives Matter movement. And we can't afford to think that because we're on the east side and we're in a liberal bubble, that the same problems that happened in Seattle, in New York, in LA, in Atlanta, and all over the nation do not happen here. We cannot afford to be asleep, right? So I know you guys didn't hear it, but that just opened my eyes to the exact thing I'm trying to tell you guys now, that there are people who are trying to shut down what we have here. So don't let them do that. That's all.
Woo! Yeah! Woo!
What's good, y'all? So, there was this dude who texted me the other day. Actually, two dudes. One dude was like, Alpha, Black Lives Matter, we know, like, I don't know why you guys are, like, preaching the same thing, like, telling us, like, the grass is green, like, we know, you know? And then I was like, shoot. And then, like, coincidentally, like, 20 minutes later, this dude texts me, another dude texts me, he says, Alpha, like, I see you're, like, passionate about Black Lives Matter, but, like, you're Lake Stevens, like, there's no, like, racism towards you over there, like, I don't get it. And then I was like, bro, so, like, this is good. Like, we shouldn't stop, because there are a lot of people who still aren't aware, who still aren't awoke, and I feel like just doing this, like, being consistent is key, like, real key. Like, I remember back in college, there's this dude, he was my best friend, too. He was just walking in the middle of the street, going to class, and then the cops came, buried him down, handcuffed him in front of everybody. Everybody stopped and looked, you know, like he was like a criminal or something, just to know they found the wrong guy, you know. I got pulled over one time. I was dropping off a delivery order for pizza, and this cop pulled me over and she said, oh, my bad, I thought you looked like somebody else. And so, like, stuff like that, man, like, we gotta be aware, we gotta educate other people, and so consistency is key. You know, Black Lives Matter isn't just a trend. Sure, it's a movement, but it's a lifestyle. It's a real lifestyle.
Yes.
And so that's what we're gonna do, man. So much love, yo. all I gotta say.
Woo! I show. Oh, that was not show. That was awkward.
Just real quick, we have a line kind of just trying to form out here if you're like planning on saying something. So this kind of happened to me like kind of beginning of quarantine, like right after I got back. And we were really trying to like stay inside, but me, my sister, my mom, like we heard about these protests in Seattle, and to us, like Alpha said, like this is a lifestyle. So we knew the first thing we had to do was to get into Seattle, get on the streets, and like, you know, support how we can. And that happened, like, and afterwards, like, we kept doing more activist stuff. We started reaching out to the east side and kept like the ball rolling on this side. And I got a message from one of my friends a little bit later, like I FaceTimed him, and he said to me, like, Gaia, like, I know you're in quarantine, but like, you're like exposing yourself to so many people, but you ain't hanging out with us. And to me, that like really took me a step back. Like it really put me in like a very vulnerable position that just made me super uncomfortable, because it was like, to him, all he saw it as me being like exposing myself, getting out of my little quarantine area. And if I can do it like there, I should be hanging out with my friends, all these other things. But again, like to me, it's not about like going out. It's just something that I have to do, you know? Like for me, one thing, like I think we should take coronavirus extremely seriously, but I think racism in this country has been a virus that's so deeply rooted in our systems that we need to take seriously. And I'm so glad that we are taking it seriously now. And to me, like having a friend come at me and say, treat the idea of me going out to these protests and holding events like this, the similar as me hanging out with my friends, really made me feel like, you know, like my identity as being a black person and this entire movement just really didn't matter to these people. So I just want to share that with y'all, because this is like, these are people that, you know, I've been friends with in the past from high school that live on the east side, and really like these things don't come to light until like the larger narrative starts happening, you know? You really start seeing where people's allegiance, like where priorities start lying, you know? How deeply do they really care about black lives? Because they do matter. Thank you.
Hello everybody. I'm going to share a story of something that happened to me here in Bellevue around this time last summer. And it was about 11 o'clock at night, a rainy night. I was driving home from hanging out at a friend's house. I got to the side roads and my mom said, you have 10 minutes till curfew. Like everybody's moms does that. So I started rushing. I was going maybe 10 miles over the speed limit. A cop pulls me over. I panicked at first, but I did everything that my dad had taught me to do since I was a young boy. I turned my engine off, I turned my music down, I put my hands on the dash, and I rolled my window down. I leaned forward and I put every dark object like my phone, my wallet on the center console so that she wouldn't mistake it for anything. And I talked to her, she was talking to me, she told me I was speeding, and then she looked at my car. I was driving my dad's used BMW. She said, where'd you get this car? I said, it's my dad's, it's a second-hand vehicle, it's a 2011 BMW. She said, where'd you actually get this car? I said, it's my dad's. It's the car that I drive every day to school, that I drive every day to hang out with friends. And then she was like, where do you live? I said, Bellevue. She so happened to pull me over right next to my condominium building right over there. And she said, where are you actually from? And I looked at her and I was like, Bellevue. Why wouldn't I be from Bellevue? Is it the way I'm talking? Is it the way I'm dressed? Is it the music that was playing before you pulled me over? And she just looked at me and she said, license and registration. I handed her my wallet and I asked her if I could get my registration from the glove compartment. She said yes, but she kind of looked a bit tense. So I said, may I please get my registration from the glove compartment? It's right over here. It's just my registration. She said yes. As soon as I reached over, she stepped back. She put her hand on her gun. She unclipped the hinge to her, what's it called? The holster, yeah. And then she told me to step out of the car and she searched my car. For no reason. She spread my legs, she had me up against the car, and she kept asking me questions like, where are you actually from? Is this actually your car? She assumed that I was somebody that I wasn't. She assumed that I was a threat based off of how I was acting, how I was talking, which is the natural way that I talk, based off of the clothes I was wearing and based off of the music I was listening to. And I was rattled by it because when you have an experience like that, you realize that anything that you do, any wrong movement that you do, can bring you feet away from death. I was literally feet away from death. So it ended up being okay. I got upstairs and I was rattled. I kind of had my jaw clenched and my mom asked me what happened, and I just broke down crying because I told her that all I did was reach for my registration and I almost got a gun pulled on me off of an assumption. That's not okay, and that shows that racism is still very much alive on the East Side. People think that these are issues that happens in LA, in Ferguson, in New York, in St. Louis, but it happens right here to a lot of us almost every single day. And that's something that people need to realize, and that's what we as a coalition are trying to bring into the light. Thank you.
So I'm going to read something off that happened here in Bellevue from the QR code. I was being followed by a group of white guys in broad daylight. I walked into a coffee shop and they waited for me to come out. I started to walk faster until I saw a group of girls about my age and I pretended to know them. 20 minutes went by and they decided to come up to me and try to say that they knew my dad and he was in trouble. I didn't fall for it, and later in the day, one of the boys came up to me and told me that they wanted to get me alone to do bad things because a nigger like me didn't deserve to live. Right here in Bellevue.
I'm actually gonna stay up here, and that story that Eliana just read, that was my story. That happened to me, and as a black woman and that lives on the East Side, I shouldn't have to be that scared to just live. And I don't think people understand that this is an everyday thing. This isn't a trend. This isn't something that shouldn't have just been brought up this year. It's been happening to people on the East Side for years, and it's been happening in America for many more years. And this is our lives. Like, I don't think people understand fully that these are people's lives being taken, people's lives being mistreated, being treated inhuman. We're all seen as inhuman, and that needs to change. And it happens on the East Side too, and I'm glad that the East Side Change Coalition exists to bring this to light.
Hi, my name is Deep Thomas. I'm going to share a story from when I was 4 months old. Okay, so when I was a baby, I was at the Starbucks with my mom and my dad. A white man was following us, and when my mom went inside the Starbucks, she came out and she was holding me in her hands. And the man was waiting for us both behind the Starbucks. And he came up to me and punched me in my forehead. Probably because he didn't like my skin tone. I'm just saying that Black Lives Matter and white people don't just have the privilege to punch us in the face spiritually and physically.
So basically what I'm gonna say today is a speech that I wrote a couple of weeks ago. So I'm just gonna re-perform it right now. It might take a little bit long, I'm sorry. Okay. And this speech is about defunding the police and reallocating that money to our community. Okay. Woo! Okay. In order for us to truly get the systemic reparations that we need to defund the police and focus on our community, because at the end of the day, policemen in blue uniforms is not what makes our city so special. It's us. It's the people. And we tend to fall complicit to a God complex of police officers. Can I please take my mask off?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'm struggling. Okay, sorry. When they were the ones who swore to protect and serve justice for all people. And when I say all people, I mean minorities, I mean homeless people, I mean poor people, I mean illegal immigrants. These are the people who are being left out of this conversation. The police department doesn't care about us because to them, we're just statistics, we're just numbers. Until we get the courage to say something, there will be no repercussions for when they kill us in the street and they don't lose a wink of sleep, because we are people. We are black people. We're black kids and black sisters and black mothers and black brothers, but to them in that moment, we were just a black person who had a busted taillight and is gonna pay with their life. And that's not okay. We can't just speak up when it's convenient. A black square is not enough, and a black square has saved 0 black lives. So we must be anti-racist every single day. The media doesn't report about Black Lives Matter anymore because they've run bored of this narrative. But we are still out here every single day fighting. The police being so dangerous has not come out of nowhere, and it did not start with George Floyd, because back in the day we didn't call them the police. We called them runaway slave patrol. And these systems have evolved, but they haven't changed one bit. Policing was developed to keep black and Hispanic bodies in jail over and over again. The media portrays black people to be lowlifes whose future reside in welfare and Section 8 housing, and by dismantling and essentially burning the image of black people, it allows us as a whole to remain complicit to their suffering. People will hide behind all lives matter, and no, I don't see color to disassociate themselves from this movement. But I actually agree. All lives do matter, but they can't matter until black lives matter. And yes, you may think you're not racist because you voted for Obama that one time, but that doesn't change that the police, the justice system, and the media don't agree, and they're racist towards us, and you don't care, and you don't speak up, and we are being beaten to a pulp by a system that has never loved us, and then ask that we can't just get up and walk like everybody else. And that's the issue that we are facing. It seems people rather post pretty graphics saying, oh, racism is bad, than actually try to dismantle the system that was designed to work against us. It seems that we value symbolic justice in the form of hashtags and social media trends over real tangible justice. The same billion-dollar companies that are making PR statements about how much they love their black employees have internalized workplace discrimination, and they do not hire black people. So I'm sorry, but I don't care about your hashtags. I don't care about your black squares. I want to see you out here. I want to see the police defunded. I want to see communities with minorities uplifted instead of ignored. And the only way we can turn the gears to make the systemic change happen is through us, through we the people. We have to be radicals in the face of diversity. And you can't say you agree with this movement but not be out here with us, because we are not prioritizing keeping the peace over getting real justice. And I'm going to make a little analogy for you guys.
Okay.
Slavery was legal. If you were a runaway slave, you were breaking the law, and nobody stopped it. Everybody remained complicit. Segregation in the 1960s was legal. If I sat on the front of the bus, they would walk me to jail. And so, to the people who are sitting at home saying that we should just follow the law, and saying that we should stay at home and be quiet, and saying that we need to just mind our business, I want to let you know that you need to be out here with us. Because if you are complicit, you are choosing the side of the oppressor. If you are not speaking up, if you are not using your platforms, if you are more worried about your Instagram feed than Black lives, then you are not my bud.
gonna go ahead and read another one from the QR code. This one happened in Redmond. One of my friends does dance. At a young age, she had a Halloween party with her studio where teammates could exchange candy. When she asked one of her dance teammates for some candy, he said, "Sorry, my dad doesn't like black people," and refused to give her candy. His dad never gave a formal apology, even after she had asked the family for one.
I said a story at the one a few days ago, but I'm gonna say another one. I was with two of my friends, both of them African American, one of them mixed like me. It was probably 10:30 at night, and we were in Redmond at the QFC. We were just getting some brownies and some snacks as young teenage kids do. And as we were walking through the aisles, we felt like eyes were watching us. And we looked around, and there was a worker standing behind us, just pretending to look through stuff, but keeping a watchful eye on us. As we left the aisle, there were two more workers, just one on this side and one on that side. And so we decided to walk around a little bit because we were uncomfortable. They were all men, so of course, as women as well, we felt that we were in danger. We looked around, and there were a few other people walking around too that were just shopping as well, all of them white, and none of them had anyone following them around. We went to self-checkout, as antisocial teenagers do, and they just followed us there, and they were watching us. They were like, "Do you need help with anything?" and getting all around us. As we left, we were just very uncomfortable, and we had to walk about a quarter of a mile back to my apartment, and we just felt scared the whole time because there was a police car outside of the QFC, and it just hurt me because I believe that if I was there by myself, I have the privilege of being light-skinned, and I don't think I would have been followed, but one of my friends who was darker was there with me, and she's had to deal with this her whole life, and I just felt her pain of she's just trying to live her life, as everyone is. Black people are just trying to live their lives, as everyone does, and we get treated like trash, like criminals, even though we were pushed to the ghettos, and we were forced to be there, and we never had a chance. I was on Omegle, and this man was like, "Well, why don't black people just get out of the ghettos then? Why don't people of color just stop causing crime and doing that and doing those things and things like that? It's not that hard." He was like, "I was once poor and my family got out." And I was like, "But you're white. So how can you say that your situation equals to what a black person would have to go through in this country? It is way harder for a black person to get a job than anyone else." And I think that people have to realize it. That's why we're saying Black Lives Matter, because we are the most oppressed. And I would also like to say that all Black Lives Matter, including the LGBTQ plus community and trans, because black trans women are the most oppressed people in this country, and they don't get enough coverage on the media or anywhere. So I would just like to say that I love all my brothers and sisters, no matter what you look like, no matter what your shape is, no matter what your form is, no matter what your sexuality is. You are all loved and you are all seen. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break. In that time, please continue to get water, and snacks. As I pointed out earlier, the bathrooms are down there near the kids' play area. Again, continue to submit stories, and white allies, you're welcome to speak as well. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you.